Hello everyone, this is Piyush. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, let's look at the cost of living in New York.
For the first time, New York is the most expensive city in the world.
Of living in New York City has skyrocketed. Pay hikes are not keeping up with inflation.
Yo, welcome to my apartment.
Yo, this space is so small. How much do you pay for it?
$650.
What's the square footage?
80 by 150.
So really it just feels like a walk-in closet.
New York is constantly ranked in the top 10 most expensive places to live in the world. So many people expect that it might be too expensive and it's no point moving to New York. I have been in New York for almost 3 months right now and it's really good. Like coming from Mumbai, it's quite similar to that. The traffic, the skyscrapers, and the huge crowd here. It's so good to see that. And it's not too expensive if you have a proper budget set out, you know where you are spending and budget accordingly. You can live a good life in New York. There are a lot of things to explore in New York and also a lot of food places. So it might sometimes get easier to spend a lot, but it's important that you have a proper budget, whether it's eating out, traveling, or your rent expenses. Many people think that budgeting is only about being frugal, cutting down costs, and not spending on anything. But believe me, I have been budgeting for almost 3 years and I definitely spend, whether it's on traveling, eating out, going out with friends. I don't cut back on anything, but I make sure that I track each dollar that I spend so that I know which category I'm spending the most or the least. It's important to have an abundance mindset where you know that money will always flow into your life, but at the same time, you should not spend like there's no tomorrow. If you are in your 20s, it's very important to have a proper budget because you can't spend carelessly. You still have a lot of years ahead of you, and if you don't plan properly, you won't have any money in your bank account and you will have to use credit cards to pay your bills and wait for your paycheck. We don't want to live a life like that, and in your 20s, it's important that you set out a proper budget, take control of your financial life, and know where you spend each of your dollar. People might think that this is micromanaging and you should not track each dollar that you spend, but believe me, it's not that hard. You can just take out your notes app and whenever you spend any dollar, just note it in your app and then you can go home and do a weekly check-in in your Excel spreadsheet. I have a similar spreadsheet and whether I spend $2 on traveling, $1 on subway ticket or anything like that, I simply track that and I have each dollar accounted for in my month's budget. Now let's look at how you can budget your expenses for each month according to various categories. I will show you my expenses for the month of April 2024 so you can have it as a reference and create your budget template accordingly. Feel free to comment down if you need this Excel sheet that I am using. I will be happy to share it with you. So the first and the most critical component of your budget is rent. Rent would be a major component, so you have to plan it accordingly. Like there are a lot of expensive apartments in New York. If you stay in Manhattan, you will find small apartments for 2 or 3 thousand per month. But if you look out for some good areas such as Brooklyn, there are quite a few good areas in Brooklyn such as Sunset Park, Bay Ridge, Prospect Park. Also, you can get some good and modern apartments in New Jersey. So you can definitely look out for some areas so that you don't spend a lot on your home. My top priorities when looking for an apartment is first, obviously, the rent. I will see an apartment that's not too expensive for me and fits within my budget. Second is the safety of the area. I don't want to stay in home all night. And sometimes, if I want to go out, the area should be safe to walk around. And third is the accessibility to grocery stores or any subway stations for that matter. So these are the things that I look for. And for the month of April, my rent is 575. You all might be shocked how I am paying so less rent in New York, but I am currently staying with NYU roommates. I have a private room. It's not such a big room, but my priority was getting to know the area. And the university students have a good idea on which areas are good, so I preferred staying with them. My lease is until July, so after that, even I will have to find some new and good apartment, which might be costly than this, but for me, right now it's 575 per month. So my budget that I set out is 575 and the actual rent I spent is 575. The second component is related to the rent, which is utilities. You will have to pay many utilities such as gas, electricity, Wi-Fi, and others. Some apartments might have it included, but for me, it was not included. So I have set aside a budget of $50 per month, which I think is sufficient. Sometimes it might be lower than that, sometimes it might be higher, but 50 on an average is a good range to consider. So usually the utility bills come after 1 or 2 weeks after the month end, so I don't have an exact amount yet. So let's assume I incurred $50 expenses in utilities in the month of April. The third component in my budget is groceries. Again, this is an important factor because we don't want to starve, and it's important to eat your meals at the right time and staying healthy. So most of the things that are included in grocery for me include chapatis, rice, vegetables, fruits, etc. And I know that these are important for my well-being, so I don't cut back on that. Whenever I feel that I'm low on groceries, I just go and spend on that. I do have a budget for that. I have set aside $200, but sometimes I even go to $300. Again, as I mentioned, I'm not frugal. It's just a way of tracking each dollar that I spent according to the categories I have set out. For the month of April, I spent $84 on groceries compared to the $200 that I set out on my budget. I prefer to make meals at home because it's healthy, and second, it's not too costly. Like if you eat out, New York might get too expensive for you, and it's also not healthy to eat out every day. It's very oily and might be unhealthy for you. The next component in my budget is traveling out. This is one of my personal favorites because since coming to the US, I have traveled a lot to many states in the US, and it's been an amazing experience for me. Some many people think that traveling might be too expensive in the US, but believe me, if you book your tickets in advance and know how to strategically plan your travel, then it might not be too expensive. So I would definitely encourage each one of you to travel, explore places, meet new people, and you will definitely love it. Apart from traveling to different cities or different countries, the traveling expenses might also cover the daily commute expenses that you might have. So I go to office every day by subway, so my traveling budget also includes the ticket that I pay every day. So the budget that I have set out for traveling is $300 per month, which might include flight tickets, your daily commute, etc. And for the month of April, I spent $119.75. So again, I was under budget in this category, but sometimes it might go over that. So don't worry about that. You can set your budget accordingly according to your spending. The next component in my budget is eating out. Even though I prefer cooking meals at home, sometimes I do crave outside food, and there are a lot of cuisines out there in New York. So definitely you can try eating new foods, whether it's Japanese, Korean, Mexican, Italian, or many others. I would suggest you to create a strict budget when it comes to eating out because it's very easy to order on DoorDash or Instacart or any other app. You would never know that how much you have actually spent. So it's really important to track each dollar you spent when it comes to eating out. I have set aside a budget of $150 per month when it comes to eating out. In the month of April, I spent $172.22 on eating out. And the major reason that I'm over budget in this category is because I had to give a treat to my roommates for starting a new job in New York. So that was a good thing. Not a good thing really, but it's okay. And the last category in my budget is miscellaneous expenses. So if you incur any expenses that can't be categorized in any of the categories that I listed above, whether it's rent, utilities, eating out, groceries, or traveling, you can include it in your miscellaneous expenses. This might include any other expenses such as medical expenses, or if you're buying any course, going to watch out any movie, etc. So the budget that I have set out for miscellaneous expenses is $500 per month. And for the month of April, I spent $240.22. I spent around 100 or $120 on getting a course for how to grow my YouTube channel. So I'm always looking for developing my skills, and even you can do that. It's important to continue to spend on things that develop you or improve you. And believe me, when you have a proper budget set out, you will feel financially confident, and you can save a lot when you start your internship or your full time. Even if you don't have your job, you can start budgeting out, because I started having a budget 3 years back when I didn't have any job whatsoever, and I can say that having a budget has really helped me a lot to know where I spend each of my dollars, and being financially aware of my life, because it's the money that I earn, and I should know where I'm spending all of my money. And if you don't have a plan to track your money in any way, it might get really difficult for you. You might fall into credit card debt trap, and it might be so difficult to come out of that. You will have to live paycheck to paycheck. You will always wait for your next paycheck. For the month of April, the budget that I set out was $1,785, but the actual amount that I spent is around $1,200. So I was under budget by around $500. This gives me a sense of accomplishment that in spite of eating out a lot, traveling, as well as spending on other expenses, I'm still under budget for the month of April. So please, no matter what you are doing right now, if you are a student, you are working full time or internship, it's important to have a budget, see where you are spending all of your amounts, and try to be financially aware of your own lives, because it's the money that you are earning and you don't want to spend carelessly like it's your last day on the planet. Comment down if you have any queries. Feel free to comment down if you need my Excel sheet to get started. Like and subscribe my channel if you find my content useful. Thank you again for watching this video. Until next time.